What is going on, everybody? It's the France. It is Monday. We know what that means. Today is the final Monday Night Raw of 2020, and this is going to be a very somber week with the passing of John Huber, aka Brody Lee, aka Luke Harper. The wrestling world is going to be in mourning a lot this week. We have the Brody Lee tribute show going on this Wednesday. Drew McIntyre paid tribute tonight. WWE gave him a nice little title card at the beginning of the show. Just not the way we wanted 2020 to end for professional wrestling. But the show must go on, and let's talk about Monday Night Raw. We see Sheamus and Keithley will take on each other. The winner will face Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship next Monday on Raw, which is going to be Legends Week, or Legends Night, because WWE is so desperate for ratings, they have to bring back the Legends. So out comes Drew McIntyre, says, it's Monday. It's Monday, you know what that means. Yeah. I don't know what the yeah means, like, what that all is with Luke Harper, Brody Lee. It must have been something he did that I really didn't see much of, but yeah. I will have my thoughts more on Brody Lee's passing on Wednesday before we do the AEW review. Drew talks about 2020, thanks everyone for supporting him, making him the chosen one, and being there from the bottom of his heart. He talks about defending the WWE title next week during Legends Night. He goes on, but out comes Sheamus. Sheamus apologized for interrupting Drew, but Drew isn't buying it because he always gets interrupted. Sheamus explains what happened last week and says he promised not to hit Lee during the match, and he didn't. They talk about the history and wanted to headline against each other for the WWE title and how it's just 1 week away. All I have to do is get through the championship get through Keithley. And Drew's like, you know what? I really want that match because it's going to make a lot of people in the back uncomfortable because we know how hard we're going to go at each other. You mean like Walter and Ilya Dragon are uncomfortable? Because I could totally see a Drew McIntyre Sheamus championship match being that uncomfortable. But yeah. Keithley comes out because he's heard enough. He talks about what Sheamus did to him last week and says there's zero trust now. Lee enters the ring and says every fiber in his being wants to beat Sheamus face in right now. But he's starting to wait until the bell rings. Then he will force Sheamus to apologize. Says Drew should remember his best friend, because later on, Sheamus may do the same thing and stab Drew in the back. Sheamus says all this has happened because of Lee's mouth for going around and telling everyone that Sheamus was going to turn on his best mate. Lee and Sheamus argue until Drew speaks up and calls the referee down so we can get the opener going. He doesn't care if Lee or Sheamus will be facing him next week. It all ends the same. Drew McIntyre, the WWE Champion. Keith comes up, is about ready to turn him, saying, "What the hell did you just say?" But he gets booted with the bro kick twice. And we have our first match. Keithley versus Sheamus for the #1 contendership. And this was hard-hitting. These two went out there, beat the bejesus out of each other. Didn't expect anything less. Of course, Sheamus had the advantage early on because of the double bro kick before the commercial break. So Keithley, from the start, is just a little woozy. He's trying to get into it for a bit. But Sheamus does have the upper hand for a bit until Keithley does turn it around with a couple knees to the chest. Couple knees, couple palm strikes. Yeah. Now, another thing about this match is that Keithley continues to try and hit the Spirit Bomb. Of course, Sheamus gets out of it every single time until he can't get out of it. As Lee hits Grizzly Magnum chops and the Spirit Bomb to pin Sheamus to get the win. So Keithley will be taking on Drew McIntyre next week. I am looking forward to that match. That should be good. I'm hoping it gets ample time. And I know it's Legends Week next week, which is another desperate ploy. Yes, it might get a 1 week ratings boost. But it's Hogan and Flair and Big Show and Tori Wilson and all these other legends going to be back week in and week out to keep those ratings up? No. So why should we care? I just don't get WWE's thinking. What? It's like, the USA Network could be happy that you get maybe a week's rating boost, but are they going to be happy when ratings go crashing back down the very next week? Now, yes, tonight I believe was the last Monday Night Football game for the season, so WWE ratings should still go up next week, regardless, because what else is going to be on? Basketball, but those ratings are going out the door because they've been nothing but social justice warriors, which needs to be eradicated, just saying. After the match, Lee vs. McIntyre is confirmed for next Monday night. Drew says Lee has a chance to prove himself now. Lee comes over to the announce table and Drew congratulates him, so they face off. Drew raises his title in the air, and that is that. We go backstage with Jackson Ryker and Elias. Elias is playing his music while Jackson is enjoying it. Someone is knocking at the door, but Elias tells Ryker to ignore those kinds of things, and he keeps on playing. We go to the ring, and out comes The Miz and John Morrison. Miz is despondent. He is just beside himself. He's not in a happy place. He's not in a happy place. He's not in a good mood. He's just upset that he lost his Money in the Bank briefcase last Sunday, even though he wasn't the one to cash it in. And he's just not having a good 2020. The end of 2020 is not good for The Miz at this time. So we go to commercial, back from break, and Grand Metalik with Lince Dorado come out. We go backstage to a promo of Lucha House Party taunting The Miz. Dorado puts over Metalik and warns The Miz. So the story of this match is that Grand Metalik is one step ahead of The Miz because The Miz's head is not in this match. There's the point where he's got the upper hand and he's like, I want my Money in the Bank. I'm Mr. Money in the Bank. His focus is not on this match. His focus is on getting the Money in the Bank briefcase back because in his mind, he thinks that he still should be Mr. Money in the Bank. So Lince Dorado taking advantage of this. Lince Dorado eventually does pick up the win. Miz, who's had a terrible week, Metalik is continuing. He's rolling him up, getting a 2 count. Rolling him up. Eventually, he rolls him up, holds him for the pin, and gets the upset win. Miz can't believe it as a Lucha Party run to get out of there. And Miz lost to Grand Metalik. Miz is Miz is irrelevant. Miz is just one of those guys that we'll talk about it later, what they do later. So we go back to Elias and Jackson Ryker, then someone's pounding on the door again. Elias isn't happy with the disrespect, and angry Ryker opens the door, and Omos is standing there. Omos and Ryker face off as AJ yells at Elias for playing his loud music while they're trying to deal with business. Elias says AJ is just upset about not getting the job done at TLC, and doesn't have much time left on his stage of his career. AJ challenges Elias to a match, but threatens to break Elias' fingers so they can't play anymore, and him and Omos walk off. Dana Brooke vs. Shayna Basler. This match is happening. Why? Because WWE feels like it. You know, Mandy Rose has the one that I bone to pick with Shayna Basler and Nia Jax mostly because she was taken out right before SummerSlam, before Survivor Series, by Shayna Basler and Nia Jax. Dana Brooke was taken out by Reckoning, aka Mia Yim. So, it just makes sense that Dana Brooke gets the match. So, story of this match is Dana Brooke fights her ass off. No Nia Jax, she's in the back getting ready for her match later against Charlotte Flair. But Dana Brooke fights her hardest, gets some offense in on Shayna Basler. Shayna Basler actually goes after Mandy Rose as well, who's on the outside. Looks like Dana Brooke has a chance to possibly win this match, but in the end, Karafuda clutch, tap out, and that is that. After the match, Mandy Rose checks on Dana Brooke. She comes back in, puts on the Karafuda clutch on the Rose, drops her then leaves her in the ring, and the music starts back up. We get a video package showing last week's Raw promo from Randy Orton after he set fires to the Fiend. and how Orton was interrupted by Bliss in her Alexa's Playground segment. Bliss warned if The Fiend does come back, it'll be unlike anything we've ever seen before. And tonight, he has accepted an invitation to join Bliss in the playground again, and back to commercial break. Speaking of that, we come back from commercial break, and Alwxa Bliss's playground, Alexa's Playground is set up. She's swinging away. She's just happy. She's talking about he built this playground for her. She can't wait to show it to him when he returns, and wonders if he's waiting to come back on Legends Night next week. She bets he's like to meet his hero, Hulk Hogan. We're in 2020. Nobody should have Hulk Hogan as a hero anymore. After everything he's like, how all the stories and all the facts that have come out about Hulk Hogan, the dude's not somebody you should have your kids look up to. Just saying. Or he could be waiting for Randy Orton to come back to her playground. Yeah. That's it. That's a nice little tribute to Brody Lee as well. I'm glad that more than one person came out and did some kind of tribute to Brody. She tells Orton to come down. Orton starts up for a second and then stops. She's like, did I do something wrong? And says, maybe Orton doesn't want to help us find the Fiend. No, that can't be it. Tell him to come down again. The music starts back up, but then stops. Bliss doesn't think Orton wants to play with them anymore. She keeps swinging, but now the Firefly Funhouse music starts up. We get to the Firefly Funhouse, and Orton opens the door, and he walks in. Which, the biggest problem I have with the Firefly Funhouse since Seth Rollins came there last year and burned it down, is that this Firefly Funhouse was supposed to be, when it first was shown off, was to be portrayed as we're in the mind of Bray Wyatt. That's why there's puppets there, that's why Bray Wyatt is a different person there, and all that. The Fiend was supposed to be Bray Wyatt we see in the ring, whereas the Bray Wyatt we see in the Firefly Funhouse was in his subconscious. But Seth Rollins somehow was able to get there. He burned it down, and now Randy Orton was there. He kicks Huskus the Pig Boy, grabs Mercy the Buzzer, throws him in the Abby the Witch, then grabs Rambling Rabbit and rips his head off. Poor Rambling Rabbit, killed again by somebody else. Alwxa Bliss is like, stop! And challenges him to something later in the night. So he says, well, you know what? I accept, because this is apparently supposed to be him feeling this is going to be Bray Wyatt's big return, so he accepts her challenge. AJ Styles versus Elias. Not much to say about this match. I would just have to say that AJ Styles can bring anybody to at least a decent match. Phenomenal forearm. AJ gets the win. There was a moment in this match when Micah was going to go after Styles, who's on the ground on the outside, but it almost starts walking over. He just leaps back as if he saw he saw a ghost. Announcers hype up Ricochet versus Mustafa Ali. Tom shows us the clips of Ricochet's somewhat emotional promo that aired on Raw's Talk this past week, and we go to that match. So, WWE has been portraying Ricochet as a loser, who Ricochet that Retribution wants, because they are losers too. He faced Slapjack, lost. Mace, lost. T-Bar, lost. The only match that Ricochet has won is when Dana Brooke and Ricochet teamed up to take on Reckoning and Slapjack. He won. Well, she won, I'm sorry. Dana Brooke won that match. So WWE decided, instead of having Ricochet win all the matches to get to Mustafa Ali, that you're going to have Ricochet lose all the matches, then face Mustafa Ali. So, again, it's like a 4-on-1. It's a 4-on-1 in this match. Ricochet just battling everybody on the outside as well. Ricochet ends up losing to the Koji Clutch, and that was that. After the match, Ricochet is offered to join Retribution, and he's like, I have decided I will not join Retribution, hits the recoil, and gets out of there. Who didn't see that coming? Ricochet losing to the entire group and then not joining. Typical lazy WWE booking right then and there. Charlie Caruso is backstage with Nia Jax and Shayna Basler. Asked about the New Year's resolution, Jax says the first two are to end Charlotte Flair's rise to the top before she even begins, and to get the tag team title back. Basler goes to leave, but Nia Jax is like, in 3, and Shayna's like, there was a third one? He's like, yeah, it's enter the Women's Royal Rumble, win that match, and then go to WrestleMania to beat the Women's Champion, whoever that is. Shayna, after Nia Jax leaves, comes back and says, you know what? I like that idea. So the women's Royal Rumble has 2 women added in. Nobody from Raw declared for the men's unless I missed something. I don't think anyone did. Charlotte Flair versus Nia Jax. This was boring. Charlotte Flair, again, not selling a goddamn thing. And Nia Jax just absolutely terrible as it is. Charlotte goes for the figure 4 at the end of the match. Carried through the clutch by Shayna Basler. And Charlotte wins by disqualification. They start attacking her, double teaming her because Asuka was on the outside. After being thrown into the announce table earlier on, she comes in and makes the save, and that was that. I don't care about the Angel Garza stuff. I really don't. We get a replay of Big E winning the Intercontinental title, so that's good on them. The New Day is backstage when Matt Riddle and Jeff Hardy congratulate them on Big E's win on SmackDown. They also mentioned getting the Raw Tag Team titles back soon. Riddle says they need a new name for this 4-man group. How about Little Bronies? Xavier says that idea is technically already taken, and he will explain to Kofi why later. How about Positively Hard Bros? I don't even care. New Day, Matt Riddle, and Jeff Hardy versus the Hurt Business. If you've seen these 4 men take on the Hurt Business, you've seen all. Basically, typical 8-man tag team match. Everyone gets their spots in towards the end of the match. And it's one of those things, it's so stupid. The 2 legal men get taken out. Then one man gets taken out. Someone from the opposite team comes in, takes out that person. Then another person from the other team comes in and takes out that person. And it just keeps going until we're down to 2 men. Lashley tags in, goes for the spear. Hardy moves out of the way, but Hardy ends up in the Hurt Lock. And that was that. Hardy loses, and that is that. Nothing. If you've seen an 8-man tag team match in WWE, you've seen them all. So the Hurt Business try to take out the New Day and Matt Riddle some more, like add more damage. That doesn't work. Final flash by Matt Riddle to Lashley, and those 4 men get out of Dodge. The Miz and John Morrison are backstage, down and out, disappointed with everything has gone. Adam Pearce walks up with the Money in the Bank briefcase. He'd like to hit Miz with it, but he's here to return it to his possession. They think Pearce is ribbing them, but he's not. He says he was right all along. Miz is the Money in the Bank briefcase holder, and he was the only man legally allowed to cash in Money in the Bank, not John Morrison. So the Money in the Bank briefcase is back in your grubby little hands. Happy holidays. So they scream, and then they tend to, for the next 2-3 minutes, 4 minutes maybe, and dance like children, embarrassing themselves while Morrison's grinding on the rail. And it was one of those things that if somebody walked in while you're watching this shit, you're changing the channel immediately because it was just pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. So we come to our main event segment. Alwxa Bliss comes out in her black dress and black boots. She is just stone-faced, pissed off face, like serious face. She's not playing any games. She comes to the ring, does the just bring in hand gesture. Randy Orton comes out. He gets in the ring. He's like, "Where is he? Where is he?" She's like, "This is not about him. This is about me." She exits the ring, goes to the timekeeper's area, gets a gas canister and a present. Takes it in the ring, opens it up, does a matchbox and a gas canister in it. Puts it in front of him, walks to the middle of the ring, and says, "I challenge you to do to me what you did to him." So she lays down, wanting Orton to pour the gas over top of her. He doesn't do it. Then she gets up and grabs the gas can and pours it out pours a line from Randy Orton to where she'd be laying. And she gets back down and tells him to go ahead and do it. Damn it, Randy, do it! But he won't do it. She grabs the gas canister, pours a circle around, and says, "Do it. You can't do it because you ain't got the guts." And then she takes the lid off and pours all over her either kerosene or water. My vote's on water, because that did not look like gas. And she wants him to do it, to light her on fire. And he's like, "You don't think I wouldn't do it? I want to do it. I want to light you on fire. But you want me to, and I'm just trying to wrap my brain around it." And he wants to give her what she wants. Before he can really say anything, Orton has the lights go out, go down in the front of the room, they go black, but now we see Orton lit a few matches. The matches shine a light on his face as he looked menacing. He acts like he's about to drop the matches, and in the most fakest way possible, the announcers are really bad at this, are begging him not to do it. We hear the familiar drum of the Fiend go off across the Thunderdome. Orton stares ahead with the matches lit as Raw goes off the air, not knowing if the smatches were dropped to light Alwxa Bliss on fire. And that is how the first year Monday Night Raw in the 2020s goes off the air. Now, this was probably a better Monday Night Raw than the final episode of Monday Night Raw of 2019, but not by much. There was some good wrestling in this show, I guess. Just booking that's like, ugh. But the show is done. 2020 for Monday Night Raw is done. Like I said, I will have my thoughts of in-depth on Wednesday, right before we do the review of the Brody Lee tribute show. I probably won't even do a review of the show. I'll probably just talk for a bit about Brody Lee and everything and what my thoughts are on his time in WWE and AEW. But this is your Monday Night Raw review. It was a decent show, better than last week by a country mile. Last week was like WWE throwing in the white towel on this year. Fuck it, we're done with this year. We're just going to move on. This week, it seemed like they actually tried. But this is your Monday Night Raw review. Hit that subscribe button, comment down below, like or dislike this video. Find me on Parler at The France Club. Find me on twitch.tv/The France Club. And find me on Instagram at The France Club. And I will see you guys on Wednesday for either just a tribute to Brody Lee or a talk about the show or both. I don't know. Until then, my name is The France, and I'll see you guys later.